Locho sampo pagyu trashi pa tuche tempe trinle yarngoda belge drolor zampe tseparche palde lame shabla solvade Oma Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sanekar Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Oma Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Oma Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sanekar Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Oma Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sanekar Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Oma Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sanekar Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Oma Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sanekar Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Oma Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sanekar Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Oma Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sanekar Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Pakyuke Kodan Dagi Lo Pakyuke Sundan Dagi Anga Pakyuke Tudan Dagi Teyerme Chiktu Chingi Lo Makyuke Kodan Dagi Lo Makyuke Sundan Dagi Nga Makyuke Tudan Dagi Teyerme Chiktu Chingi Lo Om Mahamuni Shakyamunye Swaha Om Muni Mahamuni Shakyamunye Swaha Om Muni Mahamuni Shakyamunye Swaha Sashipeki Choshiameto Tramare Rabalingashin Nidegem kam niryatayami. Sangye chedan tsoge chonam la chancho pardo dani kyapsu chi dagi jinso gibe sonam ki drola pinchira sangye drupar shoa sangye chedan tsoge chonam la chancho pardo dani kyapsu chi dagi jinso gibe sonam ki drola pinchira sangye drupar sho sangye chedan sogi chonam la jancho pardo dani kyapsu chi dagi jinso gibe sonam ki drola pinchira sangye drupar sho.
In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment. With the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I obtain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Immaginiamo
Let's imagine.
prendere una mappa,
Imagine taking a map
guardare questa mappa
and looking at this map, we look for a place we want to go.
un po' simile come si fa oggi, come oggi quando si cerca magari
It's a little bit
online per dei voli piuttosto che
similar to an online search for a flight. What kind of information do what information do we need if we want to go somewhere?
dove vogliamo andare
We need to know where we're going to
da dove
go
partiamo.
and where we are, our departure
Poi dopo si va a dire
place.
ok, come voglio arrivare in questo luogo?
And then you can say, well, how do I want to get there? Do I want to walk? Do I want to go by bicycle? Do I want to fly? I need to choose my mode of transport.
Una volta che
And once
scelgo la
I've
modalità,
chosen
poi ci sono le
this
varie
way of transport, then there are other options. This company, that company,
possiamo
um,
scegliere varie tipi
without a layover, with a short layover, a long layover.
per intraprendere questa ricerca.
When we're looking,
Abbiamo bisogno di sapere dove
we
vogliamo
need
andare,
we need to know where we're going,
sapere dove siamo.
where we are,
Dobbiamo aver fiducia di poter
trust that we can get there, and
poi dobbiamo
trust our mode of transport. And then we need to start our trip one step at a time.
Però il punto di partenza
But our starting point
è un desiderio,
is the desire.
una voglia. Il punto di partenza è
Our
il
starting
desiderio.
point is the desire where we're able to imagine where we want to go.
Noi ci mettiamo davanti a noi un obiettivo.
We set an objective, a place. We say, I want to get there.
Riconosco dove sono,
I recognize where I am.
vedo bene quali sono le
I see the resources that I have. I understand where I need help. Because if I'm by myself and I need to walk, then maybe it's too far, too difficult. And then accordingly, I find who can help me.
Però se io
But if I see a place that I want to go, but at the same time I don't believe that I can actually get there, then I'll never set off. I'll never put effort into actually looking for ways to get there. So let's say you need to believe in the place, you need to believe in that place, and you need to also have faith. You need to believe that 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 you yourself can get there. This is fundamental. When we're little, we have this tendency we mm, often we ask small children, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" And someone asks us, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" We think about a lot of things. So he who asks and he who answers, it's connected mostly with what kind of job do you want to do? But actually, in our life, it's much more important than what we do. More important of what we do, the question is, who do I want to become? And when we begin our life's path, as we go on in our life and we have our different experiences from childhood to adolescence and all the other experiences that we live, we are shaping ourselves, we're transforming ourselves, and gradually we become one thing or another. It's difficult to say I put on a label and say I become this or I become that, but we're in constant transformation. So asking ourselves, who do I want to be? First, the sooner we ask ourselves this question, the better. Do I want to be someone who is balanced, satisfied, joyous, loving, stable, peaceful? Or do I want to be someone who is impatient, nervous, sad, um, full of anguish? We ask ourselves who we want to be from inside out. It's not about being tall or short or fat or thin or a lawyer or a doctor or a father of many or a mother of, of a few, if I was single or married. These are these are extras, these are accessories. The question is me with myself, me towards the world. Who do I want to be? And it's important to allow ourselves to dream, to allow ourselves to have an image that's even idealized of ourselves. And and traditionally in Buddhism, we would say, I want to be a bodhisattva, I want to be a Buddha, I want to be a being full of love and wisdom and peace. And once we allow ourselves to dream, to desire it, we imagine ourselves in that state. At that point, we ask ourselves if we're able or not. But first, we need to really develop a kind of passion, a desire for that me that I want to become. Someone might have already heard that desire is to be eliminated. And it's a part of that is true, a part is not. What do we mean by desire? This passion. Passion is fundamental. I want to be a bodhisattva. I want to be a Buddha. I want to be a being of peace and love. And this is a priority. This is the highest of the objectives. And come what may, I can get married, not get married, have children, not have children, do one job, do another job, live in one city, live in another. I can do something or another, but that path that I've chosen, I'm not going to give up. It transcends any other aspect of my life. And along this path, I asked myself, am I able to do this? All of those who have managed up to now, they started where we are today, more or less here. All of those who started, they had to start from where they were. It's like looking at the map, and we see along the map the roads that have been taken before us, and we see that many have gone through where we are now. Maybe some a little further ahead, some close to where we are now, but more or less all with the same conditions that we have now. So why can't we make it too? First of all, it's possible. At the same time that it's possible, no one has ever managed by himself, herself. It's said that the spiritual path is a solitary path in the sense that no one can walk on our behalf. But it's also a path. It's it's a path in with company. So it's solitary, but not. It's an individual path, but it's not. But you're not alone. It's like walking together with others in the mountains, and you need a guide, someone to tell us where to, one or more than one, those who tell us where to put our feet, those who already have a method, a technique, who have the map. They know how to read the map. They know how to follow the paths. You need good company, because when we walk together, we generate more determination, more strength. We help each other. And along our spiritual path, these three aspects are called Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Buddha is the one who guides us along our path. In some contexts, we also use the term guru. The Dharma is the actual path that we walk and follow, and the Sangha is the spiritual company that we have along this path. It's said that Buddha once described that when you go from one riverbank to another, no matter what kind of boat you use, a raft or a canoe, once you put effort into getting onto the other side, once you get to the other bank, you shouldn't remain attached to your means of transport, and you shouldn't be attached to that boat. You don't need it anymore. So it's not that I used a canoe and you used a rowboat and the other one had a boat with a motorboat or a raft. One is not better than the other, and we shouldn't be attached to this means of transport. And in the same way, the spiritual path, the methodology, we can say that the vehicles are many, but the path is one. It's when we talk about the path, it's not a technical process where first you learn this and then you learn that. Oh, I did this course, I did this retreat. Where am I along my path? It depends on what's happening inside and not what you do outside necessarily. So the path is a development within yourself of stability and patience, compassion and wisdom, generosity, etc. The methods that are used, the necessary vehicles to follow this path, are many. And it goes beyond being Buddhist or not. There are many vehicles that can be used within Buddhism that don't necessarily have this form. But what's important for us is to always remember that there's an ulterior path to follow. It goes beyond the means. And I have no doubt that my tradition, the one that I follow, that I'm a part of, the tradition within Buddhism, Vajrayana Buddhism, Tibetan tradition, following Lama Tsongkhapa, following the lineage that comes from Gyawa Ensapa, that comes to us through Pabongka Rinpoche, Trisha Rinpoche, and also a tradition, Lama Ganchen Rinpoche. I have no doubt that it's the best tradition for me. Doesn't mean that it's the best for you. But personally, I've seen a lot, I've known a lot, and I see that this one works. But this doesn't take away the qualities and the value of any other tradition, any other lineage. As the great Master Atisha said, respect all spiritual traditions and follow diligently the one that you prefer. This doesn't mean that we can't learn from one, learn from another, but if it's not that I do, it's not that I pedal for a few kilometers on the bicycle and then I go backwards and then I get on a horse and then I go backwards and I get into a car. No, sometimes you take help from one or from the other means, but you choose. When we talk about Dharma, Dharma is the tool that we use along the path. The Dharma is also our inner development of love and wisdom. Why do we take refuge? Because we need help. We take refuge every day, many times a day. It's something we already do. When we're hungry, we take refuge in food. When we're thirsty, we take refuge in something to drink. When we're tired, we take refuge in our bed, in sleep. When we feel alone, we take refuge in a friend or whatever it is. Taking refuge is a normal act. Every time we feel a need, we take refuge into something, or we feel, oh, I need this or that to feel better. But in the taking of refuge, there are two fundamental characteristics that we need. What we're taking refuge from and in what we're taking refuge in. If I take refuge from hunger, I don't take refuge in meditation. It could help, but it doesn't resolve my problem. If I'm really hungry, I take refuge from hunger and I take refuge in food. So it's fundamental that there's a coherence between what we take refuge from and what we take refuge in. They need to correspond. In the Buddhist path, along the Buddhist path, we take refuge from what we call samsara. Samsara, it means this cycle of existence, this cyclic existence, this cycle of mental defilements, anger, attachment, dissatisfaction, jealousy, invidia, ignorance, selfishness, etc., based on which we act mentally, verbally, physically, and these actions interact and bring results. These results These results can manifest pleasurable um, or negative, negative feelings or neutral feelings. And when we have a pleasurable manifestation of then we react with attraction, and when it's negative, we react with aversion. And we go on and on like this, reacting again and again based on this aversion, attraction, or neutrality. So this is what we mean by the cycle of suffering. We get to a point where we just can't stand it anymore, that we want to get out. And the stronger my desire to get out of something, the stronger is my ability um, to manage the past. If I'm in prison, for example, and I say, oh, well, the prison, the food's not so bad. I have friends here. I don't have to work. I'm just inventing something. I've never been to prison, to jail. I can't say anything about it. But if I'm in jail and I see, oh, it wouldn't be bad to get out, but it's not that bad in here either. When the solution seems more tiresome than the actual problem, then we'll never put effort into changing the situation. If I need to get out of prison, I need to escape, maybe I need to dig a tunnel or do something that takes years and years and years to get out. But to do it, I need a very, very strong desire to get out and tremendous amount of determination. So this first desire, this initial desire of what I want, the wanting to get out of a certain situation is fundamental. It's like the treatment for a sickness. Often we don't put energy into a healing treatment until we have total aversion for the sickness. As long as we think, oh, I'm sick, but it's okay, it's not that bad, and the treatment seems more difficult than the sickness itself, then we'll never dedicate the time and the energy that is needed to be healed. At the end of the day, yeah, I'm sick, but it's manageable. I'm talking about my own personal experience as an example. For years and years, I had digestive problems, and I I pretended, let's say, that I didn't have these problems until I couldn't stand it anymore, and I realized I needed to really do something. This first step is about having clarity, that the clarity of what we want to get out of or to take refuge from. So do I want to get out of do I want to get out of an uncomfortable samsara? Do I want to have a life where everything is comfortable and pleasurable? Or do I want to really get out of my own inner cycle of negativities? Because if I want to create favorable external conditions, you're in the wrong place. In the sense that it's nice, everyone's welcome. People come, they say, "Oh, when I come to the center, I feel so good." Or, you know, even, you know, "Oh, I want to come to the center because maybe because I show this girl that I'm spiritual." That's fine in the sense that it's everybody's welcome. But the real reason, even in the worst, maybe if someone has a negative intention, they wanting to come here, I'm sure that luckily everyone who has come here, whether people have stayed for a long time or a short time, they've felt some benefit. But the main reason is what we can offer. We can offer tools that can help us look inside and grow as people. Let's imagine that I'm a dentist and someone comes to me because they like chatting. Maybe your teeth are rotting and you never asked me for help about your teeth. Okay, you want to talk about politics? We can talk about politics. You're welcome, but when the day that you ask me for help regarding your teeth, then I can help you with your teeth. So when we talk about taking refuge in Buddha Dharma and Sangha, we're talking about getting out of our own dynamics, non-virtuous conditionings, that inner cycle of the gratification, self-gratification, obsession with self-gratification, selfishness, arrogance, anger, etc., and gradually, with an attitude of love towards ourselves, we cultivate our qualities. This is the path that we want to follow, and to do this seriously, because there are three possible attitudes. There are those who want to get close to Dharma as a tourist, which is fine. All attitudes are fine, and very often maybe one starts with one and another follows. I'm not saying this as a criticism. Any of the three levels is fine. But there's this attitude of being a tourist, where one gets close to the to the to the teachings, to a practice, to the master, goes every once in a while. They like it, it's nice, and that's fine. A little bit like when one goes to visit a city as a tourist, you take photos, you look at the places, you look at the beautiful places, you send a couple photos around, and you say that's fine. You go to Venice, you take being a tourist in Venice is nice, but living there is a whole other story. And there are tourists who go often, and then tourists who go less, who go more seldom, but they're still tourists. They're always tourists. And then there are beginners, let's say, those who want to live in that city, but not full time. Maybe they rent a house to be able to go there on the weekend. And they go every once in a while. I live there. I live there a little bit, but not full time. This is when someone starts following the teachings a little bit more, so it's connecting a little bit more, but still has his own, makes a distinction between his spiritual life and his work life or family life. So it's separate, which is fine. I repeat, it's fine. And and then there's the level of the professional practitioner, let's say, who's not who actually lives that place, who's there and learns how to live in that city, in every aspect of the city. This is when we begin this path, including when we're able to include in our path our family, our work, our fun, our actual practices that we do. It's all integrated into one, which doesn't mean that we're abandoning our life. It doesn't mean that we abandon our family. It doesn't mean that we abandon our work. It doesn't mean that we're changing any of that. There can be changes, but the fact that if I start a deep practice, a path, and of observing myself and directing my directing my actions, where I'm cultivating my qualities and trying to diminish my negativities. When we're ready to do that full time, that's when we can say, okay, now I'm ready to take refuge. So taking refuge is when we say, I want to dedicate my life in an intense way to spiritual practice. And I repeat, this has nothing to do with leaving our family, leaving our work, leaving our friends. Sometimes people can say, Lama, I'm tired. I'm tired with the life that I have. I'm tired of everything. I want to abandon everything and follow the monastic life. My experience is that everyone who want to follow a so-called spiritual life because they were having trouble in their mundane life, let's say that they have tremendous trouble also in their spiritual world. Um, if they have trouble, if you have trouble in your daily, let's say, lay world, as you try to escape from that into a spiritual context, then the chances are that you have trouble there as well. I've seen this a lot. Um, of course, it's wonderful to go to a monastery to learn more things, to develop more tools, etc. But we don't need to change the way we live, the way we work, etc. It's more about integrating in our lives, in the job that we do, in our family life, in every aspect of our life. We need to integrate the teachings, the practice, the path. This is very important. I say this because sometimes it happens that someone starts getting close to Buddhism and let's say in this falling in love period with the Dharma, and they they look back and say, "Oh, everything I'm doing is not worth anything. What am I doing? I go to the office and I'm just wasting my time. Why am I doing this? And why am I spending all this time, all these activities with the family?" That's and some part of that is can also be right, but running away from all that brings nothing. What's good is to start applying what one learns and use every context as an opportunity to practice love and patience and awareness, concentration. There are different aspects that we can apply to our daily life. And then gradually, naturally, then one takes decisions. Maybe one wants to spend and dedicate more time in one place or doing one thing instead of another. These are natural consequences of following a spiritual path. When we get to this point where we want to follow this path seriously, deeply, a way that goes where it is applied to every aspect of my life, that's one of the most important things that we have. There are many, many valid methods and traditions, but I've found this one. And so I want to ask help here. I want to be accompanied here because every tradition has its own system, its own methodology, like the different kinds of diets. If, if you are following a diet, you need to follow that diet from beginning to the end. You can't begin one and then take another. Um, so Tuesday, I do a full carb diet, and then the other 2 days I do low carb diet. Of course, that's not going to work. Everything has its own um, coherence and should be followed. So it's important to follow with clarity, determination, our path. In taking refuge, we take refuge from samsara. Where where do we want to reach. We want to reach this so-called nirvana, the state of peace, satisfaction, well-being, a state where we've been able to overcome our own ignorance and selfishness, remembering that there's no hurry to get there, but we're in a big hurry to start walking. We're starting a long trip, and we don't know how long we'll be able to travel. And sometimes I'm going to go the wrong way, but it's important that we just keep walking in the right direction because we're not able to stay still. We're walking always in one direction or another. So it's important to be sure that the direction that we're walking goes more or less towards the right objective. Sometimes, we can run a little off the path here and there, but we always get back on. In taking refuge, there's the causal refuge and the resultant refuge. The causal refuge, we take refuge in Buddha, who shows us the path, who gives us the path. We take refuge in the Dharma as the actual refuge, the actual path to follow. The Dharma is the practices and teachings. The real taking of refuge is when we apply our teachings. It's not when we listen to the teachings that we're taking refuge also, but it's when we put them into practice that we're taking refuge. I take refuge in the Dharma when I sit down to meditate, when I apply to my daily life what I've learned. And if I'm listening to teachings, reading something, that's also taking refuge, but it's much more important when we go to apply the teachings to our daily life. So I take refuge in Buddha as the one who concedes me the refuge. I take refuge in the Dharma as the actual refuge, and I take refuge in Sangha and the spiritual community, those who accompany me along this path, which is very important as well. At the same time, I take refuge in the resultant refuge, the Buddha that one day I will become. Or rather, I take refuge in my own potential for enlightenment. I take refuge in the pure state of the mind, in the Dharma, my own ability to grow, to develop myself. And I take refuge in the Sangha that I will become, my ability to be able to help and accompany and support others. So it's fundamental in refuge to have faith in he or she who guides me, and also in my own, have belief in my own ability. The belief that I have in the Guru is the same belief that I have in myself, not more, not less. And this is really quite important. It's said that Buddha Shakyamuni said, when I will no longer be there, I'll be present through those who transmit my teachings. And there's always been this need to have a direct human relationship and not just a conceptual relationship. So it's said that along our spiritual path, it's not important to only learn techniques and concepts, but to have also this relationship of love and faith and belief. A few days ago, for example, someone asked me, it was related to more modern ideas of mindfulness, for example. It was a very specific question that has to do with one of the dangers, this fact that when it becomes something like I sell you a course, for example, I give you a technique, I'm giving you concepts, I'm teaching a method valid, regardless of how valid it is, there's the danger that that this relationship of trust and love can be missing, which is fundamental within the spiritual path. For example, if you go to a doctor, and regardless of whether the doctor is good or not, or related to his knowledge and therapies or her knowledge or therapies, for me, it's fundamental that I feel cared for by the doctor. It's happened to me personally that even if the doctor was very well prepared, but I had this feeling that my well-being wasn't a priority, and so I never went back. Maybe I'm stubborn, but for me, along my healing path, this is fundamental for me. And similarly, along our spiritual path, there's a connection that's created deeply. It's not conceptual, but it's a connection of love and trust and affection that I have for my masters, and my masters have for their masters. There's this link of love and faith that's uninterrupted all the way to Buddha Shakyamuni. And this is something that's called the root of all realizations. This relationship of love and trust is fundamental. It's also called samaya. Samaya is translated sometimes as commitment, but we can also translate it as meeting point between two people. And that meeting point between two people is love and trust. This is extremely important. It's also described, a master in Tibet gave this description. It's like building a new house. Even if you have a wonderful electrical system in your new house, and if between the electrical plant and the electrical poles, if they're broken, then your house is not going to get electricity. So you need to really make sure that the source of electricity goes all the way to you. So similarly, this line of transmission, not just of knowledge, but also of love and trust, this needs to be uninterrupted. It's absolutely fundamental. Jokingly, and also not so jokingly, I say things as they are. There's a proverb in Tibetan that says, also in Italian, I think. So the one-eyed man in the land of the blind is king. In Tibetan is a saying too. So from my point of view, it's not that my knowledge of Buddhism is the best that exists. It's not that my experience is the deepest that exists. It's not that my realizations are the most evolved that can exist. I'm walking along my path, and I'm happy to be able to take your hand by hand, and to walk together and to be at your service and give the best of myself. But there's something I'm incredibly proud of. I'm proud of my masters and the certainty that I have been able to maintain a pure relationship with them, a relationship of love and trust. So this connection, this uninterrupted connection, and they also had this pure relationship with their masters. This, without any shadow of a doubt, I proudly share with you. This is, let's say, the most precious thing that I have to share. When we take refuge, and we do it with someone, because this human relation, this human connection is fundamental. Heart to heart, this faith that is created, this trust, it's extremely important along our path. So it's said that before taking refuge with someone, one should wait at least 12 years. For example, just a short time ago, I was talking to a friend in Kathmandu. This is during the Tibetan New Year. And he said, I'm going to this Lama who's going to give teachings, but before taking him as my master, I need to see if it works for me. So I'll take these teachings as a kind of trial. And this is a correct attitude before taking refuge. Before signing up for a treatment with a doctor, for example, you go and listen to the doctor. You see, you have a little experience, see if what he's giving you is working, and once you really begin a long treatment, then you follow that. And I hope it never happens, but I've seen it happens, unfortunately, even when at a certain point along our path, one loses that connection, that link with one's guide. Never, ever should you develop a feeling of doubt or aversion. A little bit like saying, you know, among those who teach me, there could be those who, it could be someone, for example, who teaches me up to a certain point, and then I feel like I need somebody else. That can happen, but we shouldn't lose the gratitude that we feel for what we've received, and can have more than one master. It doesn't have to be just one. For example, great Lama Tsongkhapa, the founder of our lineage, of our tradition, Lama Tsongkhapa had more than 100 masters. And it was a very particular case because most of his masters then became his own disciples. There was this relationship of reciprocal master, disciple, disciple, master. It was very, very beautiful. It's said that the further along we go along our path, that the more we're able to take refuge in the Dharma. It's said that the more masters we have, the better it is. At the beginning, when we're taking refuge more in the person and less in the Dharma, the fewer masters we have, the better it is, so that we don't have any confusion, make any confusion. But before taking refuge, we need to test, we need to try out. Does it work for me? Does it not work for me? Is it true what he's saying, she's saying? Does it touch my heart or not? Does this method work for me or not? And here we need some time. Once we've seen that it works and that we don't have any doubts, so we see that it's beneficial for me and I can trust it, at that point we embark on taking refuge with certainty. And this is something that happens in our heart. When it happens, it happens. And we can we can do also elaborate refuge ceremonies, but if it doesn't happen in your heart, then there's no refuge taken.
Perciò noi quello che andremo a fare adesso è
Now, what we'll do, we're going to formalize this taking of refuge.
e in questo momento abbiamo
In
creato
this
questa situazione nella quale ci sono
moment, we've created this
venuti
moment.
per la prima volta,
Maybe some are here for the first time, maybe some are here for a long time, and everyone here along his path, and
molto importante
it's very
che abbiamo al
important.
centro ad Albagnano,
It's
ovviamente
if here at our center at Albagnano, I
diversi
mean, there are different
del Dharma.
approaches to transmit the
Una delle
Dharma.
cose che noi seguiamo ancora oggi
What
ad Albagnano
we follow here in Albagnano, even
ci ha dato un po'
still today, that Lama Ganchen
è il fatto che
gave us this imprint, that everyone is everyone is always
ed è
welcome
fondamentale, io non so se
independently of the religion that one follows. It's
abbiamo
important that you can
persone
be here
diverse,
and
età
feel
diverse,
comfortable.
classi
We
sociali
have
diverse,
people of
culture diverse,
different
religioni
ages,
diverse.
different
Va
um,
benissimo.
different cultures, different social classes, different religions
Questa connessione che abbiamo.
of origin. But it's important that we want to follow
Per dire,
together
se c'è una cosa che io chiedo
this
è la
path.
vostra sincerità.
And I ask you, if there's anything I ask you, it's your
Quando uno pronto per
sincerity.
prendere rifugio, se
When
siete
you're
pronti siete pronti,
ready to
quando
take
non siete
refuge,
pronti non
then
siete pronti.
you feel ready. If you don't feel ready, you don't feel
Uno
ready.
magari si trova
It's
adesso a
not that
chiedersi sta cosa
now
come
you're
faccio.
here and you ask yourself, now what am I supposed to do? Everyone's doing it, and I'm not doing it.
Senza
No,
personalità, no?
um,
Devo, non
there
devo.
isn't this oh now you should, or no, not at all. It's something deep. It's something that happens within you, and
Ogni tanto
it's
qualcuno
not
viene e dice, ah, ti
external.
chiedo scusa
Sometimes
se
people
non sono
come
ancora
to
riuscito a
me and
farti
say,
vedere
"Excuse
come
me,
come
Lama, I
funziona
haven't.
questa
Forgive
situazione.
me, I haven't taken refuge yet." But why do you have to excuse yourself? Let's celebrate the fact that you're sincere and that you're listening to yourself and that you give the right weight to this
Una
important
cosa dall'altra
decision.
parte è
And on the other
quando
side,
invece
when
dici sì, non mi
instead,
fa troppi problemi,
it's those who just make
quando sono pronto
who
va
just
bene
make
così.
too
Infatti
create too many
quello che si
problems.
pretende
Maybe
è che
the
questa
refuge is
persona
already there
stia
in his or her
bene,
heart, but they just ask
vediamo
themselves too many questions. Am I ready? Am I not
perciò
ready? Should I do it now? Should I do it later? I don't know if that's clear, if you
quando
recognize that.
prendiamo rifugio formalmente
When we formally take
decidiamo di
refuge,
affidarci
we entrust
a qualcuno come guida spirituale
ourselves into,
come coach
we
in ogni viaggio.
we entrust a person who will guide us, and also a lineage and a family, spiritual family, the teachings, the path.
Andiamo ad affidarci
And
a quella
we
comunità
entrust ourselves to a spiritual community,
e andiamo ad affidarci
and
a
we
queste
entrust ourselves to
intenzioni.
ourselves, to this intention to walk along this path.
Esiste una tendenza,
There's a tendency,
non sapevo parlare o meno, va
I
bene,
don't know if I should talk about this or not, but let me just say it. It's
sia al riguardo
important.
del guru
It has to do with the
che al
guru,
riguardo del Dharma, sia al
also
riguardo della Sangha.
Dharma, and also related also to the Sangha.
Uso un'analogia
I mean, just
non
use
bella,
an analogy that's not great, but it's what's comes it's
certe
coming to
volte
my
c'è una
mind now.
tendenza
Hopefully, it gives the
nel
idea. Sometimes we
certe
have
volte
this tendency
qualcuno pensa
to
di indeosare, si dice in portoghese, indeosare, mettere come un dio, no? Quindi prendo rifugio,
to
metto il guru sul
to
piedistallo in alto,
to put the guru on a
si alza il
pedestal
livello
as if he were a
dell'emozione,
god. I have a
del guru,
completely idealized
come
image of how he or she should be,
metto il
and
Dharma
and the
innanzitutto,
dharma and the
lo,
teachings
lo metto in alto,
I put it
la
on all
Sangha
on a
è la
pedestal.
comunità
And this
meravigliosa che non ha
marvelous Sangha is a community that is
e metto in
completely
alto
free of every negativity, everything on a pedestal. And then after a while, I take
cercare i difetti
my
per sparare,
the rifle and I
un po'
look for
spiace
defects. I
l'analogia,
look for defects
ossia
so
mettere
that
in alto per certi
I
difetti,
can
giudicare, dire vedi,
criticize, so that I can say,
li ho
look, you
messi in
have
alto e non
you have criticized me. And then you look for defects so that you can criticize. What I mean is, we we're not in a position, we don't need to be, to this happens a lot with the spiritual community, for example. Well, we have an idealized image, but at the same time, we look for defects so that we can say, I can't trust this community. It's happened to me also. If people come, they trust marvelously, and then after a while they say, look, something like this shouldn't happen at the center. Well, why not? We're all in samsara. It's like they say, well, you're Buddhist, you shouldn't get angry. And the answer, it's not in my case. I mean, I have other defects, but anger is not one of them. But if someone goes to you and says, you're Buddhist, you shouldn't get angry, you can answer, I get angry because it's because I'm Buddhist that I get angry, in the sense that if you were already a Buddha, you wouldn't get angry and you wouldn't need to be Buddhist. You're Buddhist because you're not a Buddha yet. Like we said before, once you get to the other side of the river, you don't need that boat anymore. I don't think that Buddhas are Buddhists. Right? Buddhism is a method to become. But once you've gotten to the other side of the river, doesn't matter how you got there. And if you go into more details about the Buddhist philosophy, we can philosophize and analyze our Buddhas or Buddhist or not. But we don't need that right now. So try to take refuge with your heart without idealizing or looking for defects. This is generally speaking something that's important. So one needs at the beginning to know well, get close to, trust. As Lama Ganchen Rinpoche would say, he would say, first of all, I'm here to be your friend. And then if you want, I can also be your guru. This is this fact of saying, okay, we're here together. And Lama Ganchen repeated many times, and I'm very grateful for this. In this case, he's talking about me and about himself and about me. He said, our function as lamas is to be at the service of the Dharma. We're here to serve. And I believe this profoundly. As I said before, without the expectation of taking refuge as someone who has already arrived. But I accept where I am along my path. And I myself, I'm happy to give a hand, open my hand and walk together. So we take refuge in the Guru, and in the way we create this relationship of love and trust and transparency. Remembering that trust, when we talk about trust, when we, from the West, maybe we have a different idea of trust. In our Western culture, when we say, trust me, what are we asking? Believe in me. I believe in you. I believe that, for example, that you will tell me the truth. That's our understanding of it, isn't it? Actually, it's not really like that. It really depends on what we mean by trust. In the Tibetan way, trust is, I trust you means you will always give priority to my well-being in your actions. And this trust is based on love. I trust you because I know you love me and that you will do everything that you do thinking about my well-being. Are there are there episodes where Lama Ganchen did not tell me certain things? And I would say, how is it possible? Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me? And then, and actually, if he had told me, then it would have really brought something negative. I mean, he did the best for me. I have no doubt that what he did was always the best for me. But in our Western view of things, we always think that we need to know the truth. But for me, it's it's important for me that that person that I'm trusting prioritizes my well-being. And there are many other important characteristics of transparency and clarity and this we had total transparency about anything with Lama Ganchen. So it's important that when we create this relationship, that 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 there's no relationship, there's no a subject that becomes taboo. I remember once years ago, someone came to me and said, in a very open way, actually, a very direct way, and to, and had this person had some spiritual difficulties, but but these difficulties were based on like a kind of there's it's like sexual difficulties and this person was talking to me with in detail, and I was happy not to know about his intimate sexual life and his um, dependence on sex. But I was happy that there were no filters. This person had full trust, or could was completely transparent, and that's hard to find in both in the both. Or sometimes someone comes to me and says, "Oh, you see, Lama, that person in front of you is shows himself as a good practitioner." And I think, well, at least in front of me, the person acts well. Or, or I've seen people try to hide the fact that they smoke. I mean, when you think of all the horrible things in samsara, and what is smoking? Nothing. Of course, this relationship is important to have respect, but it's important to be oneself. We have nothing to hide. Need to be transparent, to allow ourselves to be naked without fear. Even if someone comes to me and says, Lama, I've had really bad thoughts towards you. Okay, let's talk about it. I'm listening. Everything's fine. They're not things that we cannot face together. This is the kind of relationship that I've had with my masters, that I have with my masters, and this is the best that I have to offer. It's what I think I have to offer. So my commitment is to, as I said before, to walk together, offering the best of what I have and giving my availability, and the commitment that you, to those who take refuge, the commitment you have is to sincerely walk the path. And as I said before, taking refuge with one master doesn't mean that you're harming another. There's if people ask, can I go and listen to these teachings or go to this teacher? Go. I mean, you go and you take what is beneficial for you. You're not
E non solo ciò che
cheating on a master. And
anche importante il rifugio nel Dharma, è il più importante in assoluto.
so the refuge in the Dharma is the most important.
La comunità spirituale è molto
Also,
importante.
of course, the refuge in Buddha and the spiritual communities too.
Veramente
I
approfondire
think it's really difficult
la maturazione
to
di primo
ripen.
del guru.
The first is easy. The refuge in the Guru, in
Poi
the
rifugio nel
Buddha,
Dharma è un po' più
and in the Dharma is a little bit
poi
more difficult. But it's even more difficult taking refuge in the Sangha. Sometimes it's difficult to understand the benefits of the Sangha and how we can take refuge in the Sangha, have an idealized image of the Sangha, etc. But little by little we get there.
questo è un po' quello che volevo condividere con
This is what I wanted to share with you today. Something else that's beautiful. When we talk about the Guru, when we connect well and take refuge with the Dharma, then the Guru can manifest himself in many different ways. From my own personal experience, um, that I don't talk about too much, but it's a good example here. Once I was actually, it's this experience I've shared a lot, which is in this context I think is very appropriate. I was on the beach and I chose to go to a special, far away, remote beach, and and halfway there I saw someone selling coconuts, and it was ridiculously expensive. It was something like 25 euros for one coconut. And then I get to this far away, remote beach. I left my car. I walked maybe 25 minutes. There was nothing special there. But anyway, I get to this place and I found a man who was selling coconuts, which was strange because it was the most remote beach. And there he was with his little stand. He was maybe around 50 years old. He was very dark. And I had this conversation with him. Oh, how much is a coconut? And it was a normal price. Can I have one, please? Yes. And then I gave him the money. But I was so touched. And it's hard to explain it well. But I found in front of me a person, to that dialogue. I mean, there was nothing special about what our conversation, but in that short amount of time, he taught me so much. He had this manifestation of humbleness with dignity that I had rarely seen before, and I was really taken by his presence. I asked him, I wanted to stay there a little bit with him. I asked him his name, and he said Michel. And already it's difficult to find my name on the other side of the world and a man. Anyway, I thanked him, and even today I feel the great gratitude towards him, because in that short time he taught me something precious, and I have a profound gratitude. This humbleness with dignity is difficult to put into words. I get emotional when I think about it and talk about it. If we looked at antique texts, we would say the Lama was in this place, and there was an emanation of the Guru that showed himself as a coconut seller. The Lama who's so attached to coconut became the hook. Became the hook to get his attention, and then he actually recognized the coconut seller as the Guru, and it was like that. When we're open and connected to the Dharma, we can learn where we least expect. And along the path, we need humbleness. And it's said that the Buddhas and the Gurus, they can manifest in the places that where one least expects it, in the strangest of places. So I have, that's why we should have respect, great respect for anyone we meet, because we don't know who we have in front of us. There's a text that's really interesting. It's um, an interview with Kyabche Rinpoche, who was a previous teacher of Lama Michel Rinpoche. Unfortunately, I never had a chance to meet him. He was very direct and a marvelous person, and just a vast level of knowledge. We have a representation of him here. There's the big one is Kyabche Rinpoche, and then just looking on the right, there's that white window of the Vairochana, let's say. To the left on the first one, I can't see very well from here, but you can see this kind of goatee, this beard, this goatee beard. That's Kyabche Rinpoche, and he was a very special master, one of the most important masters of Lama Ganchen, who taught him all the healing practices. And in one of his teachings, this interview from that beginning of the 80s, a Westerner went to India and interviewed many lamas, talking about incarnation, reincarnation. And so this part was talking about Tsar Rinpoche. And there he explained, well, what a lama is, what a tulku means. He explains many things in a very, very clear way. He says there's some that have a name of tulku, but actually they're not realized beings. They're beings who had a specific or a particular connection with the Dharma, and then his reincarnation is found. And then there are others who are actually free from a conditioned rebirth and choose to be, they choose with awareness where they're reborn. And there's some that are actually fully realized beings who are already Buddhas, and they can manifest in more than one place. And he was talking about one of his masters that, according to him, without a shadow of a doubt, was a Buddha. And talking about this master, he says that this master was at home in Tibet, and his attendant got close to him, and he saw that his master was laughing by himself. He was like, ha ha. And the attendant said, what's going on? No, 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 nothing, nothing. And then at a certain point, okay, well, there's one of my emanations that's in Beijing. I can't remember if it was Beijing or not. And he's a beggar. And finally, he was able to get a little bit of food. Was just about to eat it, and then these dogs came and they stole his food, ran away with his food. Ha 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 ha. So at that point, the attendant asked, "Well, how many emanations do you have?" And he said, "I need to think about it. Let me meditate on this to give you a clear answer." The next day, after meditating, he said, I recognize 200 emanations. These are things that go beyond our ability to understand, and you don't have to necessarily believe in it, but I'm convinced that we don't know who we have in front of us. The most special of people manifest themselves in places the least probable. Buddha Shakyamuni, before becoming a Buddha, already along the path of, already as a bodhisattva with a level of a very high level, he talks about 500 lives as a bodhisattva, as as a human and as an animal, 500 as an animal. So it's not because it's an animal that it's an inferior being, or it's not because we just don't know. It's important to always be open to learning. If we have this attitude, then we can receive so much. That's why along our path, we connect with the beings with whom we create a particular special link. And there's a difference between a teacher and spiritual guide, guru. Someone can be a professor, someone can be a teacher, someone can transmit knowledge, technical knowledge, etc. And that's very important. Genla is the term in Tibetan, professor. And then there's guru, which in Tibetan we say lama, we, um, with whom we have this relationship of trust and love, who helps us along our path. And the main function of a lama, of a guru, is not to teach anything, but to interact with us on a deep level that helps us transform, shape ourselves in a virtuous way, to bless our minds. The function of the guru is to bless. The function of a teacher is to, of a professor is to teach. You can have a guru that can also teach. Just to explain a little bit, there's the Master Tilopa, for example, with Naropa. Naropa, when he went to Tilopa, it's not that Tilopa taught him anything, but was able to touch his heart and bless him in such a way that he was able to realize things that before he wasn't able to realize. He was able to create that connection. We can spend days talking about this. We live in a context where culturally we're not used to having the image of the guru, and I don't know how many of you had parents who had a spiritual guide, maybe even within Christianity, not just formally going to mass, but the actual someone that one entrusted himself to spiritually. I mean, I think that this exists also in Christianity. It's also in it can also become a mere formality in other religions, and it can happen also in Buddhism, where the masses are Buddhist, and it just becomes something that one does formally. But we need to work on this. It's not someone where we just entrust ourselves and we say, okay, I put myself in your hands, do with me what you want. No, it's I always say, I'm trusting you, tell me what to do. A bit like going to a doctor. I go to a doctor and I don't say heal me, I say give me the right medicine and diagnosis so that I can follow the treatment and heal myself. So this refuge is something that we need to also renew as we deepen this relationship. The, the prerequisite, the condition that you need to take refuge is sincerity. It's a feeling of love and trust. If someone says, I like it all, but I don't really believe, then don't take refuge. You don't need to. Instead, if you maybe you say, I don't understand, but I believe. Well, it's better to believe, but okay, if you really feel it. So now, let's do the ceremony of refuge. We will follow tradition. In the taking of refuge, there's this formalization. We have the repetition of, and we'll do it twice. First in Pali and then in Sanskrit. The difference when we do Pali is related to personal liberation, wanting to get out of samsara. The second is the Mahayana refuge, Vajrayana, where at the basis there's the desire to want to help other beings. I take refuge not only for myself, but because I want to help others get out of their own cycle of suffering. So now, those who would like to formalize the taking of refuge for the first time, or if you'd like to renew your refuge, stand up, make 3 prostrations as a sign of request. If you don't feel like it now, that's fine. And then afterwards, sit down with your right knee on the ground and your left knee up. Traditionally, we sit in this position. You're sitting on your right leg and the left knee is up with your hands, your palms together. If it's it's easier if you put your foot behind. If you're not able to do that physically, you can sit any way that's comfortable. With your hands pressed together, that represent your entire, the unity, the wholeness of your being. We visualize that at my heart is my root guru, Lama Michel Rinpoche. Above me are all the masters of the lineage, the masters of Lama Michel Rinpoche, except Chidamani Rinpoche, his master, Kyabche Pabonka Rinpoche, all the way to Panchen Chökyi Gyaltsen, Lama Tsongkhapa, Atisha, Buddha Shakyamuni, and this uninterrupted lineage is like a flow of light that arrives all the way to my heart. This light of trust, of love, of refuge. And from the depth of your heart, you connect with this desire to get out of this cycle of suffering, to get out of samsara. And your desire to want to help others do the same. We recognize that our suffering is mostly caused by our own mental defilements and the actions based on those. And we want to develop our qualities. We want to become a bodhisattva, to help every being get beyond their suffering. And to do this, we ask for help. We ask for help to the Buddha, who concedes us refuge, shows us the path. We take refuge in the Dharma, the actual path. We take refuge in the Sangha, the spiritual company during our path. We take refuge in the Guru, the personification of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, who guides us with love, hand in hand, heart to heart. From the depth of our hearts, make the request to be guided. At the same time, you entrust yourselves You trust yourselves. You entrust yourselves to Guru Buddha, your own guru, inseparable from all Buddhas, and also you have faith in your own abilities to be able to develop all qualities like love and wisdom, to be able to walk for the benefit of all beings. With this intention, repeat after me. Imagine that this flow of light that goes from Buddha Shakyamuni to my heart goes from my heart to the hearts of each one of you. Regenerate or create deep this deep link of love and trust. Repeat after me. Buddham
Sharanam Gacchami. Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami. Sangam Sharanam Gacchami. Dutiyam Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. Dutiyam Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami. Dutiyam Sangam Sharanam Gacchami. Tirtiyam Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. Tirtiyam Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami. Tirtiyam Sangam Sharanam Gacchami. Namo Gurubhye,
Namo Gurubhye,
Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sangaya. Namo Gurubhye, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sangaya. Namo Gurubhye, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sangaya. Namo Triratnaya. Sangye Chodam.
Sangye Chodang,
Sogi Chonamla. Janchup Pardo. Dani Kyapsuchi. Dagi Jinso. Gibe Sonamgi. Drola Pinchir. Sangye Drubrasho. Nel Buddha, nel Dharma e nel Sangha.
in Buddha Dharma and Sangha,
Prendo rifugio
I take refuge until enlightenment.
con la pratica
With the
della
practice of generosity,
della moralità,
morality,
della pazienza,
patience,
dello sforzo entusiasta,
enthusiastic effort,
della concentrazione
concentration,
e della saggezza,
and wisdom,
possa io
may
ottenere lo
I
spirito
obtain Buddhahood
per il
for the
beneficio
benefit
di
of
tutti gli
all
esseri.
sentient beings.
Nel Buddha, nel Dharma e nel Sangha,
In the Buddha Dharma and Sangha,
prendo
I
rifugio
take
fino
refuge until enlightenment.
con la
With the
pratica della
practice
generosità,
of generosity,
della moralità,
morality,
della pazienza,
patience,
dello sforzo entusiasta,
enthusiastic effort,
della concentrazione
concentration,
e della saggezza,
and wisdom,
possa io
may
ottenere lo
I
stato di
obtain Buddhahood
per il
for the
beneficio di tutti gli
benefit
esseri
of
viventi.
all sentient beings.
Om Muni Muni, Maha Muni, Shakyamuni, Swaha.
Om Muni Muni, Maha Muni, Shakyamuni, Soha.
Om Muni Muni, Maha Muni, Shakyamuni, Swaha. Io vi porgo la domanda
Now I ask you the question,
che si dice in tibetano Tabi, no?
Tabyenu in Tibetan, which means this is the path, this is the method, and you answer excellent. Lek so in Tibetan. So you answer lek so, and from that moment I snap my fingers, and when that happens, the commitment, the vow of taking refuge is formalized. So I ask you, Tabyenu, this is the method, and you answer lek so.
Tab Yino.
Lexo. Now you can sit normally. Let's recite the taking of refuge together and connect with the practice of Guru Yoga. Visualize in front of you Guru Buddha, your own Guru, inseparable from all the masters of the lineage. All masters of the lineage absorb one into the other above my head and then absorb into Lama Michel Rinpoche, who remains at my heart. As you take refuge from my 5 chakras, light rays emanate. White from my crown, red from my throat, blue from my heart, yellow from my navel, and green from the secret chakra that absorb into your respective chakras, purifying your negativities and revitalizing your own qualities and keeping strong this connection with Guru Buddha. Let's recite together.
Sharanam gacchami, Dharmam sharanam gacchami, Sangam sharanam gacchami, Dutiyam Buddham sharanam gacchami, Dutiyam Dharmam sharanam gacchami, Dutiyam Sangam sharanam gacchami, Tirtiyam Buddham sharanam gacchami, Tirtiyam Dharmam sharanam gacchami, Tirtiyam Sangam sharanam gacchami. Namo Gurubhye, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sangha. chedan soki chenamla chancho parto dani kyapsu chi dagi jinso gi peso namki Penchir sangye drupar sho sangye chedan tsokich chancho parto dani chi dagi jinso gi peso namki drola penchir sangye drupar sho sangye chedan tsoki chonamla chancho parto dani chi dagi chinso gi peso namki drola penchir sangye drupar sho.
In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment. With the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I obtain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. The light rays absorb into your 5 chakras. And from the depth of your heart, you make request, asking Guru Buddha to stay, to remain inseparable with you, with every choice you make, with every word that you say, every thought that you have during our lifetime, at the time of our death, during our bardo, and in all of our future rebirths. Guru Buddha accepts your own request, and an emanation comes towards you from my heart, then towards you, and goes to the crown of each one. And Guru Buddha, as big as a thumb, sits at the crown of your head. Your central channel opens up, and he descends through your central channel to your heart, where he sits on an 8-petaled lotus flower that then closes at your heart.
Palden tsawe Lama Rinpoche Dagi Drimbra Pede Tenshola Kadrin Chembe Gone Jesunte Chodan Tumong Odruba Tsedusol Palden tsawe Lama Rinpoche Dagi Ninkar Pede Tenshola Kadrin Chembe Gone Jesunte Chanchubo Ningpe Pardo Tempar Shu.
Guru Buddha stays seated joyously at your heart. we allow ourselves to rest in the mind of Guru Buddha. On a more subtle level, our subtle body rests in his body, our mind, our speech in his speech, our mind in his mind. We feel his love, his peace, his wisdom. We become one and inseparable with Guru Buddha. Pakyukye
Pakyukye Sundan Dagi Nga Pakyukye Tugdan Dagi Yi Teyerme Chiktu Jingi Olo Makyukye Kudan Dagi Lu Makyukye Sundan Dagi Nga Makyukye Tugdan Dagi Yi Teyerme Chikto Chingi Lo. Riposiamo la nostra mente.
We rest our mind, we rest our being in Guru Buddha, in a deep state of peace, love, harmony, and joy. Guru Buddha stays with us at our hearts at all times. We dedicate all the positive energy that we've generated to peace, inner peace, for ourselves and for others, and as a consequence, peace in the world. We dedicate for the peace in environment. And may wherever there are sicknesses, may people be free, may all beings be free from such sicknesses. Where there's conflict, may great conflicts become small, and may the small conflicts disappear. We dedicate our merits so that we can always be guided life after life along our path of spiritual growth, so that we can help others get out of their own suffering.
Lame kutse rapten chi namkara trinle chochur gepadang losan tempe drume sasum ki drove munsela tatu ne gyur chi kyawakuntu yanda lama dan rame cheki pela longche ching sadan lamge yönde rabzone dorje change kopan Nyur tobo sho Chanchu semchu rinpoche Make panam ke gyurchi Kepa nyampara me payang Kongne konto pelwar sho Nimo dele tsendele Nime kuyan dele kshin Nyinsen takto dele Concho sumke chingelo, concho sumke ngodrubutso, Kuncho sumke trashisho.
At dawn or at dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and sprinkle the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness. In this way, we conclude the taking of refuge, the refuge ceremony, in the sense that it's a continuation of a path, not the end. But the ceremony ends here. Those who have time and want to, there's the practice of Tara in the Gompa and Tara Gompa on the floor above, and we will do the accumulation of the mantra recitation of the 21 taras that will go on until tomorrow morning, until 11, and followed by the Guru Puja, and then that's why there won't be the morning inspirations tomorrow morning. Those who have taken refuge for the first time, you will be granted a name because it represents the like a new birth within a new spiritual family. And if you've already taken refuge, even with another master or with Lama Michel Rinpoche, you do not need another name. It's not a collection of names. So years ago, when Lama Ganchen told me to grant refuge for the first time, he told me also to give that make sure that one of the two names, in my case, is Champa. So the name that I've always given from the very beginning is Champa, and then there's the second name. So the name represents the qualities that we need to develop. And let's not fixate too much on the names. They're all beautiful and they're all qualities that we need to develop. So that's all. So please, those who have taken refuge for the first time, you come to receive your name. And as Rinpoche said, see you soon, see you all the time.